Hey Greg, I was thinking about you the other day. I've just knocked down a I've just knocked down a wall in my house, right? And this goes back to the analogy we were talking about yesterday, right?
All right.
And there's a bit of the wall I couldn't quite knock down, and and I was thinking, what could I do about that? Like, I could put a bit of board over the top of it, or I could. And everyone keeps tripping over this little bit of wall, right? And because I'm thinking about, all of the ways that I could sort of make it, easier so people could see it, and other things I could do to work around it. And then I started thinking, why is that even there anyway? Like, what is this little bit of wall? Is it, why don't I just fix that and then I'll fix the problem rather than dressing it up and putting all these barriers or taping it on? I was thinking
Okay.
that's the same as your fuse board analogy. It didn't strike me to figure out what on earth that wall existed for in the first place. I was more
Right.
interested in trying to figure out ways of cover it up or make it visible. And I was thinking, that's just not fixing the problem. It's the same as your fuse board analogy. I was just
Why would you smash? I presume this is a wall in the garden, not in your house.
no, no. Fortunately, it's not a supporting wall.
I was gonna
I
say,
discovered that after I knocked it down, but yeah.
I'm glad that you discovered it wasn't.
No, but just do your fuse
Yeah.
board analogy again, because because we'll do that again. I really like that one.
Yeah. So it was, and I did that at a bunch of talks. It was and I'll tell you why I came up with this analogy afterwards. So you've got the fuse board, as you call it, the junction box, the fuse box, where the main spot where the power comes into your house, and you've got all your breakers and fuses and whatnot. It blows up. The whole thing just comprehensively blows up. So what do? You call an electrician. He comes in, he looks at it, like, yep, it's toast, rebuilds it for you, and he leaves. You pay him, and then he leaves. And then a week later, it blows up again. He comes back, he looks at it, yeah, it's toast again, fixes it again, you pay him, and he leaves. A week later, same thing. And this time he's like, you know what? I'll make it I'll beef it up, bigger model, thicker gauge wires, thicker fuses, breakers, all that. Costs a bit more, but you clearly need it. And so he installs that, and this time it lasts for a month, and then blows up. Comes back, upgrades it again and again, and this keeps happening. It lasts 2 months, brings a bigger one, lasts 3 months, brings a bigger one, lasts 6 months. And next thing you know, you've got a junction box that's size of a 55-inch TV, and on your kitchen wall, and it's okay. It only blows up once every couple of years, and you get used to this. And then someone comes along and goes, who's not an electrician, and goes, how long has that water pipe up there been leaking onto your junction box? And this is the analogy I was trying to explain to someone who, they were in security, obviously, and I was saying, like, you really need to get involved in the root causes of things. And when so much of security, or rather SecOps, security operations, is issues caused by other issues further upstream, poor asset management and patching, that kind of stuff, you have to go and get involved in those things. And I had like a good response from someone like that a couple of weeks ago. It's like, we do engage. So you have to not get involved, you have to engage them, which I think is a better word for it. We engage through policy. And I'm like, policy is just not good enough. It's drawer stuffing. You have to actually go engage the business, talk to stakeholders, find out what's going on. Otherwise, you're never going to craft security that fits. And the example is, everyone's seen a leaky pipe, right? But no one's ever specified a leaky pipe. They don't know that it's leaking because you haven't gone through it. You may be the electrician, but you may have to spec the pipe and make sure they build the pipe, or even fix the pipe yourself to make sure that it's not leaking. Because their job is filling bathtubs, and as long as water's coming out the other end of the faucet, they're not even going to know that it's leaking a few drops in this room. So that's the analogy. And
Yeah.
so much of that is just stuff that's upstream, and no one wants to get involved in it. And it's just, it's extra work. It's a little extra work,
but it's not extra work. Not when you look at the scheme of things.
Well, that's the thing. If you
right,
exactly, if you up the scope, I mean, yeah, well, you're going to put a little bit of effort here, but it's going to save you 90% of your effort there. And you won't be chasing your tail all the time. And it's that constant hair on fire, SOC alerts. You're looking at SOCs like tens, if not hundreds of millions of alerts a day with, analysts, and they're burning out and people are poaching them. You look at like analyst salaries going through the roof. Why are you doing this? Why aren't you addressing
Right.
If you had architectural standards, really rock solid asset management, not just from a technical perspective, a ping sweep is not asset management, okay? It's got to be really, really good. It's got to be technical. It's got to be agent based, where every agent detects everything around it. And then you actually have to go and talk to the business, every single person in the org chart if you have to. But what do you do? Where do you sit? Where is that? What do you guys interact with? Because you're going to find that you've got places where, you had great asset management processes and great tech, but you didn't know about a department, and therefore it wasn't happening there. And that's how they got in. And what was it we're talking about? Of I won't mention who it was, but it was one of the last big five I always use that got breached. So BA, Marriott, Equifax, Capital One, and Travelex. One of those, I was having beers. I think he had few too many beers. But one of the investigators after the breach, and he was saying at one point they got to a switch, and there was something on the switch they weren't aware of. And what that something was an entire company they had bought 6 years before. So absolutely no security controls had been put in place there because the security team just didn't know about it. It wasn't like, hey, I read in the papers we bought a company, we should be involved. No, they just, business as usual, which is fine. But I think you need that kind of a bit of a servant leader altruistic. You want to do those things for your organization, to be in security.